Hitch.
Hey, have to click that. Got it. Okay. Hi. Hi,
How are you,
babe.
darling?
I'm good. I'm all right.
Well, you're really happy today, aren't you? Because you've just come back from Morrison's. Tell me about that. Tell me about your Morrison story.
I just did a quick shop, and I'll get them. Just one sec. Just stay there. One minute. You can ask me that. I'm not working. 1 minute.
So Hitch is an avid supporter of Palestine, and they've got these in Morrison's in the World Foods section. That's kind of a big deal. It's a big deal, that is, isn't it?
Yeah, because like you and Awesome Helen the other day, you guys were chatting, and Helen made a point of saying that BBC don't even mention Palestine, and she's right. So in a country where they're trying to forget all about Palestine, seeing this in the supermarket, it's nice.
Yeah, it's the Gorky Park Windsor change. You can really feel it, can't you? I mean, we've been on marches for Palestine where there's been 200,000 people, and last year the amount of people that came out around the world was staggering, wasn't it? And obviously, you don't get those crowds coming out for Israel, do you? The only thing I can remember, the only crowd I can remember Israel gathering was outside the embassy, and there was about 50 people there, and one of them was Tommy Robinson.
Yeah,
Um,
Tommy Robinson is not a flex. Like Tommy Robinson's coming to your protests. You're on the wrong side, mate.
yeah, but even he was talking about how he's been wrong on some things, especially with regards to the migration, etc. Over the last few months, and it's almost like the tide is turning, isn't it?
I saw it, but I don't know if I can trust him. I don't
Oh,
know whether he's saying that because he genuinely realizes, or whether he just, he sees that things are changing. The
um,
narrative isn't.
it could be a bit of both. It could be a bit of both. I watched it, and I watched the interview that he gave and the little speech that he gave about how he was wrong about certain things, and it seemed genuine to me. But who knows? I haven't really paid him too much attention. But even if you've got avid supporters of Israel like that coming out and changing their views on other things, especially immigration, etc., then that there obviously is change in the winds, isn't there?
Yeah, but I'm not going to, put all my trust in that. I'm still going to concentrate on other types of activism. I'm not going to put any money on him.
It's where we met. That wasn't it? The activism.
Outside the embassy, outside the Ecuadorian embassy, yeah.
How did you get what? How did you get involved in it? What was the moment that you realized? Oh, I've got to do something about this.
Very late teens or very early 20s, I was watching foreign news, so news from another country, and the journalist was talking about how Israeli settler had gone into Palestine. I don't even remember the place in Palestine that it was, and killed someone, shot a guy or something. And the journalist was saying that there's going to be backlash. This isn't just going to be allowed to go. And I remember watching it thinking, oh, that sounds really, really bad. And then, like, about a month later, I was watching British news. I think it was BBC. And the journalist was saying, oh, this Palestinian from the village that the Israeli settler had gone into and shot this person from that village, a man had now gone into Israel and shot a soldier. And the journalist was saying, and no one knows why. So I'm watching it and I'm thinking, well, I know why. It was on the news a couple of weeks ago. How are you saying that you don't know? And I think that's when the first shoe dropped. That I thought, are we being lied to? So I started to look into it and I found out more about the whole Palestine Israel thing. And I would go on the protests and I'd, go on the marches. And then I saw someone with a sign for Julian Assange many years later. And I remember like stopping the person and saying, look, this is a protest for Palestine. Why are you talking about Julian Assange? I've been offended by it almost. And the person saying to me, it was a woman, and her saying to me, well, how do you know about the land theft in Palestine, or what the settlers are doing? How do you know any of that? It's WikiLeaks, Julian Assange. And that's when I thought, oh, so they've probably been lying about him as well, because I remembered him as some rapist guy that had jumped bail or something. So that's when it kind of clicked. So if they've lied about Palestine, they've probably lied about this fella as well. So I started to look into that. And then your channel started. So I started to watch that. And you was doing some live show talking about how you wanted to go to the embassy, which I was going to go to. And I ended up paying for your ticket. Do you remember? I paid for your ticket. And then
you sent me a donation, and it paid for my train ticket down there. I couldn't even afford the train ticket.
Yeah. I sent you a score and I was like, see you there, mate. And I didn't even think I would see you there, because I knew there was going to be a few famous faces there. So I thought it was going to have a bit of a crowd there, because usually there is no crowd. But I thought, oh, George Galloway is going to be there. So it's probably going to be a bit of a crowd. Good chances I'm not even going to be able to talk to you. But if I see you, I'll shake your hands, kind of thing. And then went there. We ended up spending the whole day together.
Yeah, I remember sending you an email afterwards saying I met George Galloway today, a hero of mine, but you were still the highlight.
Oh.
It's sweet, isn't it? People in the audience are going to be vomiting at the moment. Um,
Oh.
the activism side of things, you were really quite young then when you figured it out. I mean, I always knew that the BBC were lying to us about everything, but it wasn't until I
Yeah.
started doing this, and it wasn't until 2016 when I clearly saw that the media had broken in 2016, and Trump literally broke the media around the planet on the planet, that I started really investigating it, and it was the Julian Assange thing that really confirmed it to me that they were lying on purpose, the BBC especially. And it's the whole, for me, the thing that proves it more than anything else is the amount of times that they've said charges in Sweden with regards to Julian. I mean, this is something that they do time and time and time and time again. Our friend Emmy has caught them doing it on at least half a dozen occasions and had them retract it. But they've retracted it for sure, on the website. But how many people are going to see it on the website compared to how many people are going to hear the words Julian Assange and charges in Sweden, of which there never were any charges? There was an preliminary investigation that went on for a decade that was opened and closed more times than a fridge door, Fidel Narvaez said.
Yeah.
But how many times did they say it with their 35,000 employees around the world? How many ears heard it, Julian Assange charges in Sweden? And when we argue with people in the chat, when people come to my channel in the chat and say, oh no, he's got to go, he's a rapist and he's got to go to Sweden, it's because of that misinformation and disinformation that has been put out there on purpose by the BBC. This is an organization that's one of the biggest funded organizations, media organizations in the world, 35,000 employees, like I say, and they didn't know about why did that person from Palestine go and murder those people in Israel? We don't know. We haven't got a clue. They knew. They're just not telling you. And it's the same with the Julian thing.
They're very clever in how they're giving you the information, and shit stinks. Even a year ago, I was outside one of the courts, I don't know which, and a man on a bicycle went past me. We were all outside. It was a Julian Assange protest, and he sped past me on the bike and shouted, "You're supporting a rapist," and gone. Before I could stop him and say, no, for starters, I'm a feminist. Do you think I'm that much of an idiot that I would be outside a court advocating for someone who I thought was a rapist? The majority of the women that support, of the people that support Julian Assange, are women, aren't they? You've got the odd guy here and there, but the majority are women.
Yeah, it's the ladies that have stepped up. Uh, we've met some. I've met some fantastic friends as a result of this. It's terrible, but
Incredible women. Naila, Emmy, Antonia, incredible women.
I know, just incredibly strong women, and we're so thankful to have them as friends in our lives. So yeah, that's sort of how we met, the activism side of things, and why they are lying to us. They're lying to us about pretty much every other country on the planet.
Everything. Don't believe anything they say.
Have you seen anything of this Tory leadership thing that they are doing? Somebody fainted last night, didn't they? Did I hear? Was there just so much bullshit in the room? She just keeled over and
like. I mean, we've spoken about it a couple of times. It's a farce. It's I don't
it's
know
a
what to
theatre,
call
isn't
it.
it? It's just a theatre. It's like they're putting it on as it's as if they're saying to the public, look, honestly, look.
About a month ago, you was cracking up saying, "It'd be funny if if Prime Minister," and I was laughing at you like, "Don't be daft, don't be stupid."
I think I made a tweet about it saying, go on, Tories, go on, vote Liz Truss in just to confirm to the public once and for all this sham of a democracy is in fact a sham, and you'll install anybody as your leader, and the people don't have a choice. Go on, do it, and finally, then the veil of democracy that and it looks like she's going to be prime minister. No offense to Liz Truss, but she's not the sharpest tool in the box.
Me.
And we are selling tea to China. Yorkshire tea. When it comes to British food and drink, we have never had it so good. But as well as exporting our fantastic food abroad, I want to see us eating more British food here in Britain. At the moment, we import 2/3 of all of our apples. We import 9/10 of all of our pears. We import 2/3 of our cheese. That is a disgrace. From the apples that dropped on Isaac Newton's head to the orchards of nursery rhymes, this fruit has always been part of Britain. It's been part of our country. I want our children to grow up knowing the taste of a British apple, of Cornish sardines, of Herefordshire pears, of Norfolk turkey, of Melton Mowbray pork pies, and of course, of black pudding. Under a Conservative government, Britain will lead the world in food, farming, and the environment. In a fortnight, I'm going to Paris for the world's largest food trade fair, and I will be bigging up British products. In December, I'll be in Beijing, opening up new pork markets.
I'm going to China to open up new pork markets.
I'm going to sell naan bread to Indians. Yeah, go on then. Oh, yeah? Go on then. Go on then.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, these are two people now that have left. These two people that are left that are fighting in this theatre on television. Why they're putting it on television, I just don't know. Why is this trying to give the facade of democracy? Look, people, you have a choice. I mean, people don't get to vote on.
It's definitely a facade because, like, Labour is also now a Tory party. So it's, what do you want? You can either go and vote for this lump of shit or this lump of shit. There's no difference anymore. It's both the same thing.
I've got to now you mentioned that.
Right.
I've got to show this because I'm hoping you'll be able to. Can you see that?
Dimmack has started screen sharing. Oh, I can. This is so cool.
So I'm going to play. This lady is
Oh,
called.
this is mint.
Watch this. This is incredible.
Can I just say that I don't know how you've got the guts to come to this city after you have been being interviewed and doing columns for the Sun newspaper, after the way we as a city were abused, and after the way we as a city, the Hillsborough victims, were abused by that paper, and you've come here. Secondly, you lied to us about uniting the party. I'm still a Labour Party member, and you've expelled and witch hunted in the most vicious way I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I've been a member of the Labour Party for a long, long time. You have absolutely said you had 10 pledges, you were going to carry on the Corbyn legacy. And ever since, you've done nothing but distance yourself from the ideas which tens of thousands of people joined the Labour Party to support. And all you've done is feed into the Tory ideology of not supporting strikes, of carrying on with the privatisation of our health service. You're doing everything to feed into a Tory victory. Because we may as well have a Tory if we have a person like you who lies to the party. It's a dishonesty.
Thank you very much.
And our health service is going right down the pan.
Thank you.
And you have a big responsibility, the working class people of this country.
Can you move back, please?
Excuse me. You're just, don't be getting physical.
No, I'm not touching you. Can you move back then, please?
You're touching my breast.
Can you move back, please?
Now move back.
No, can you move
I want
back,
to go
please?
to the toilet.
Toilet's over that way.
What did you think of that?
It's all lies. Don't touch me. I didn't touch you. You blatantly just, we all saw it. We all saw it. The way even Starmer, the contempt. Did you see it when she first started to talk to him? He went like that. Picked up his glass of water, started drinking his water. Not even really listening to what she's saying.
Yeah.
Just getting one of his henchmen
to say, bugger off.
Fuck off.
I mean, this is Liverpool, where he went to Liverpool, and obviously he's done columns for the Sun. Now, for anybody who doesn't know, the Sun, you can't buy the Sun in Liverpool. There isn't a shop in Liverpool that'll sell it, because if a shop in Liverpool started trying to sell the Sun, it would have a Molotov cocktail through its window after what the Sun did in their reporting of Hillsborough disaster. I mean, I remember at the time they were writing stories about just fake stories of how Liverpool fans were urinating on coppers who were trying to save them. Do you remember?
And on dead people, stealing their money and then pissing on them. It's all bullshit.
Just total rubbish. It took them 26 years to apologise for it, and even then, it was only damage control really that they did it. I mean, this is a disgusting outfit. Their Sun on Sunday, the News of the World, if you remember, that had to close because it was found that they were hacking the phones of dead kids. You know, this is
yeah. What was her name?
Oh, I can't remember. Millie Dowler, was it?
Millie Dowler.
It's awful. And you know, he goes there and writes for the Sun newspaper knowing all of that. I mean, you couldn't get a more Labour heartland really than Liverpool, and that's how the working class see Labour now, isn't it?
You can't get a leader that is more Tory. Didn't he just tell his MPs that they're not allowed to go and join the picket? Now, Labour was built on unions. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. It was built by... It's called Labour. The clue's in the name.
So how can you tell your MPs don't join the picket lines, don't support these strikes? Was it the Conservatives who wanted to give people £10.50 living wage or minimum wage. And Starmer was like, no, £10.
Yeah, it's £9. It was £9.50 at the moment. The Tories manifesto said £10.50. So Starmer went, I know, I split the difference, £10.
Elected you. Shame. Shame on you. You should hang your head in shame. Boris Johnson. Boris. Well,
The line for me in that was, we might as well have a Tory if we've got you. That's the thing that stood out for me, because I mean, I did a video a while ago about his plan, because it was his plan of how he was going to kickstart the economy after COVID. And it was basically, the plan was basically all of the people who've got money, who saved money during COVID, i.e. the rich people, because they're the only people who saved money during COVID. He's going to get them to invest in the economy. He's going to cut taxes for them so they invest in the economy. And then he's going to come down and create jobs. Now, if that sounds familiar to you, that's the Tories' trickle-down economics policy of the last 30 years. And this is his big idea. I mean, we haven't got a choice here, have we?
Why would I get up on voting day, put my shoes on, walk up the road 5 minutes to go into a booth to either pick for Tory or Tory? I might as well just stay at home.
It's sad, isn't it? I go to vote now, but it's literally just to shit on my ballot paper and write Free Julian Assange all over it.
Yeah.
You know, because I do believe, for the people who do stay at home, I get it. I mean, there's no point in voting in the system that we've got, this first past the post system. That the next, if we have an election, the Prime Minister will be either Keir Starmer or Liz Truss. That's the choice that we've got. We don't actually vote on anything, do we?
No.
So it's no wonder really that you've been such an activist.
Yeah. It's like that by design, yeah. What do you do? You go on marches. I mean, the Million Man March, did that stop the war?
No. No, it didn't. And I am starting to come. I remember when I first met you, I was taken aback by how violent you could be, and how not physically violent, but how you would promote, like, we need to cut their fucking heads off. You used to say to me. I was like, you can't do that. The French tried that, and they ended up cutting the heads off the people who was cutting the heads off people. You know, it just snowballed like that. But the more time goes on, the more I've come around to your way of thinking. It's like, yeah, we need massive bloodshed to really have any chance of.
We need massive something. Even JFK said, if you make peaceful protest impossible,
you make violent revolution inevitable.
Inevitable. It's going to happen. People are going to start tearing shit down. But then there's a side of me that thinks, are they? People nowadays fat, lazy, they can't be arsed. It's not until it's happening in their own backyard that they're going to get up and do something. And by then, is it going to be too late? Is it going to be the whole, first they came for the socialists? Is it going to be one of those? First they came for this lot, I did nothing because I'm not, blah, blah, all the way to the bottom, and there's no one left. So no one's going to go on marches because they've all been gotten rid of.
Not every march that we go on is a happy affair, is it? I remember one event that we went to where you ended up in tears, and it was the saddest I'd ever seen you. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, Pride. When I was a lot younger, I would go to Pride. I've got lots of gay friends and I loved it. I would go to Pride every year. And it was a movement. It was a movement. People wanted to legalise gay marriage. Gay people wanted all the same rights as everyone else. It was
This is when it was at Finsbury Park, yeah?
Finsbury Park, before it was going to Hyde Park. I'm talking 25, 30 years ago. I'm talking a long time ago. And you could feel it was this powerful, like when, unity, when people get together and all demands the same thing. the power in that, the energy in that was intoxicating. It was amazing. And then we went to Pride, was it year before last?
It was a good 4 years ago, because Chelsea, I think it was 3-4 years ago, because Chelsea Manning, we were going.
Because they were going to be giving flyers out for Chelsea Manning, because
Yeah,
she
in
was
Trafalgar Square.
at Trafalgar Square, you know, a trans woman, LGBTQ woman who needed the help of her, you know, gay brothers and sisters.
Was
So
tortured by the Obama administration for telling the truth.
yeah. So we go there expecting that she's going to have all this support, and people were just walking past. Try and give a flyer, and they would just walk right past. They just weren't interested. They were drunk. They were being sick all over the place. It was just an excuse to rave. And like, they had the crowns. I think that's what did it for me. That's what really just choked me up. Like, I got a lump in my throat. The Burger King crowns.
Yeah, when we first got there, as we got there, they handed us a paper hat in the LGBT colours, and I nearly put it on your head, if I remember. And I went, oh no, wait, look, it's got a Burger King logo on it. It was just a free paper hat. We thought it was really nice, and as we literally went a few meters past that, and if I remember right, we saw this girl who was fuming, wasn't she? She was so angry, and she walked off and she was crying because she had a stall where she was painting stuff on people's faces, but she wasn't. She didn't obviously pay the fee. She was just there. And so this guy had come and started confiscating all her shit. They didn't just move her on, they confiscated it. And then we stepped in some sick. And then we walked another 10, 20 yards. And then we saw that black guy, didn't we? Do you remember him?
Yeah, begging for stuff back, and they were just taking it.
He had a stall where he was selling, you know, the Rasta hats in LGBT colours and the scarves. This is obviously something that was probably made by his missus and what have you. And there wasn't just one guy confiscating. There was about 6 policemen, weren't there? Yeah. And he was like, please, this is my food for the next 4 months. You're taking food off my table. And the police were just like that. And everybody just was walking straight past, ignoring it, weren't they?
Yeah. It's just the whole thing, the way, like, I was protesting, you was protesting, loads of people were pushing the government to legalise gay marriage and to give gay people the same rights as everyone else. Like, we were the ones marching and shouting and screaming and going to Pride. And like, then it was legalised, great. But now the government acts like they've always been pro-gay and it's us that aren't. I'm like, no. We had to push you into the 21st fucking century. Don't act like we've never been on a march before, that we don't know what this is about.
It's kind of sad. It really is. It's like you said it when it was Finsbury Park. I remember you saying on the day when it was Finsbury Park, there was a real movement. They could have demanded anything, and they settled for a free paper hat with a Burger King logo on the front.
Yeah.
I think I've got that picture somewhere.
It's like it's been hijacked. That pride, that movement has been hijacked. It's been monetized. They're making money out of it now. So again, it's another weapon that's been taken from us.
We were there a few weeks ago. We didn't go there for that day. We went to the Assange thing at Piccadilly, didn't we? And it was just on the same day. And BAE Systems had a float.
Yeah.
BAE Systems had a float at Pride, promoting LGBTQ, and there's all these lesbians waving flags as the BAE Systems float goes past.
What are you doing? It's been hijacked.
It has. I want to talk to you about this, because this is something that we have been talking about for a couple of weeks. So this is a story that we saw a few weeks ago. A couple in India are suing their son for not giving them a grandchild. This is brilliant, isn't it? Because the amount that we've talked about this over the last few weeks.
Hours.
A couple in the North Indian state of Uttarakhand are suing their only son and his wife for not giving them a grandchild after 6 years of marriage. Sanjeev and Sandana Prasad, 61 and 57, say they used up their savings raising their son, paying for his pilot's training, as well as a lavish wedding. They are demanding compensation worth nearly $650,000. That's over £525,000 if no grandchild is born within a year. So they've given 3 months to get her knocked up, babe, because it's born within a year. They've given him 3 months to knock his wife up, otherwise he owes them £525,000. This is just insane, isn't it? They're holding his son's sperm to ransom.
But it hits on so many levels. That's why we've been talking about it so much, because it's so like,
yeah, because your instinct is this is nuts, this is nonsense, isn't it? That's your instinct. This is nuts.
And it is. But you've got to realise that, there's that saying, when faced with your own death, you deal with your mortality.
Mm-hmm.
But when faced with the death of your child, you're now presented with your immortality.
Right.
Like the death of your immortality.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all born to reproduce. It's in our instincts, it's in our DNA. Like, we all want to leave our genetics here, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to think that I'm gone and all my genes, it's just that dead end cul-de-sac. It's just gone forever. But you and I, we're lucky. So we've got siblings that have done that for us. So our genetics, yeah, exactly. But this Indian couple, the mother and father, that's their only son. And he's carrying on that legacy, that genetic legacy. It's mad, but I get it. I don't agree, but I kind of get where they're coming from, why it's so important to them to carry on this legacy, this genetic legacy. But on the other hand, you think, well, if the judge sides with the parents and says, no, you've got to give them a grandchild, and then the couple say no, so the judge says, all right, you've got to give them back the money, and then the couple says, well, we're not doing that either, then what? Are you going to put them in prison? Because if your son's in prison, you're definitely not going to get no grandchildren. So then what? Are you going to force it? Are you going to get them and make them like, how are you? And then this goes both ways, though, because then can't a child sue the parent?
Yeah,
say,
well, look, here's you say that. Here's the story. This is from 2019. An Indian man is going to sue his parents for giving birth to him. So let's say they get their way and they force their son to do the deed and knock his missus up. I mean, they might have a beard marriage or something like that. That happens, doesn't it?
What if he says, yeah, all right, but she's like, no, I don't. So then what are you going to do? Because that's something else now. Like,
so, all right. So he knocks her up. They get pregnant. And they give birth to a son. Does the son now have a chance to sue his grandparents for forcing his parents to bring him into the world and the state of the world? This opens up a real Pandora's box, doesn't it, for the legal system?
What if it's a girl?
Exactly.
So, all right, the genetics are going to carry on, but the name isn't.
No. And, that's the thing that really matters, isn't it? It's the name. And, we live in the UK. We live in a monarchy.
What are we going to start doing? Are you going to start intervening in the pregnancy? Are you going to start, we'll just put a male embryo in. Oh, while we're there, let's make it super smart, super tall, good looking. So now we're going somewhere else. Like, this is why this is so interesting.
It really is, and it opens up the doors into the genetics and and altering genetic code. It really does open up the door to that.
Like, already kind of doing that. So you've got, like people that carry certain genetic, like keys that you end up with a disease of some type.
Yeah.
So if two people carry it, there's a chance that their child might be born with a certain disorder or certain disease. So then they can test it and then let you know, and then you can terminate or carry on whatever you want to do. So we're already kind of doing stuff like that. But where do you draw the line?
Yeah, and also, I mean, if you are one of the people who are condemning this at the moment from the UK, then sit back and think about it, because we've got the royal family, and this is exactly the way kings and queens have been decided in this country for centuries. You know, I mean, I'm old enough to remember Princess Diana marrying. Obviously, you're a good deal younger than me, but I'm old enough to remember the marriage between Princess Diana and Charles. And I remember my mom saying at the time, she's nothing but a broodmare. She's just there to give them the grandchildren. And lo and behold, it turns out that, yeah, that's exactly, there were 3 people in this marriage, if you remember. Poor Diana. Really. So, that was I'm gonna have to keep going back to that story. I know I am, because it's fascinating me. That is.
The more we talk about it, the more is revealed. The more you realize, oh, this also, like, this is crazy. Like, we can't let that happen. I understand it, but we can't allow that. No.
And it does seem to be getting sillier as well. I say sillier, it gets more complicated as well when you look. You remember you saying that just where if somebody carries a genetic code, then and they get with somebody else with that genetic code, there's a good chance that their child would be born with disabilities, that sort of thing. So they can check against that now. Well, we got a situation at the moment with you're cancelled if you come out and say that a woman is a woman. And I remember doing a video years ago about Caster Semenya, the runner, the 800-meter runner who's got high levels of testosterone. She's a woman. She's born a woman. She's just got a genetic quirk where she's got high levels of testosterone in her body, meaning that she can beat basically any woman on the planet over 400 and 800 meters.
I have like lots of facial hair, lots of body hair. It's the testosterone. So women get high testosterone.
Well, as a result of this, people found, oh, well, if they've got this 1 in a million quirk, then wow, I could coach the next Caster Semenya, and that's my golden ticket to millions of dollars from. So what happens is these coaches end up going out into, at places in Africa, villages in Africa, say that they're testing for so and so, but really they're just looking for somebody with this genetic code so they can get them when they're a baby and young, so they can then train them. And it's almost like a trafficking system into athletics.
We're just going to end up with athletics with super powered people.
We could end up with that, couldn't we? With if they're going to start messing with the genetic code of, they probably already are, aren't they?
The genetic code is like nature's own, like super strong, but you can't just fill up the Olympics with nature's own super strong. That's not fair. Although it seems to be all right to do that for a trans woman to do it. A trans woman can, but an actual woman who's biologically a woman that has high testosterone, because they've said now you can't go into the athletics if you have lots of testosterone, right? Yeah,
Caster Semenya, she's having to race at a longer distance. So she's having to race at 5,000 meters, and she's not doing very well at all.
Right. Okay. So they've just changed the
and they've had to make it unfair to make it fair. And if that makes it, because it's unfair on Caster Semenya, she's a woman.
But if a trans man identifies, no, a trans woman, excuse me, identifies as a woman and has been taking hormone blockers, I think it's for a year, can then go and do any women's Olympics.
No,
not just.
it's sort of changed. It dependent on country, you know. In America, you had the recent thing where that the swimmer, and you know there is the argument about this, and especially with sport, it's like how many transgender men do you see competing with men? None. Why? Well, that's because they are at a distinct disadvantage. Why? Because, well, men have higher levels of testosterone, and
yeah, maybe in darts, sure.
Yeah, maybe in darts, maybe. And to be honest,
in,
women compete with men in darts anyway, so that's no problem. But it's an interesting time, isn't it? I saw Ricky Gervais's special on the plane actually, and at the start he was saying how, you know, how we can't keep going back and retroactively cancelling people for the things that they said 10 years ago, because nobody, not a single person on the planet would have thought you could get cancelled 10 years in the future for saying a woman is a woman. But pretty much right now you're getting cancelled for saying that, isn't you? I mean, our friend Naila gets called, is it a TERF she gets called?
Yeah.
Because she's a feminist. These are crazy times we're living in, aren't they?
Yeah. You'd get cancelled for saying, well, what is a woman? What is a woman?
What is
a woman?
Well, biologically speaking, that's all I really can go to, because I'm not a woman, so I can't tell you what it's like. But
what is a man? What is a man? You're a man. You can tell me what a man is. What is a man?
I don't know. Somebody who enjoys women's football like I did last night. I really enjoyed the women's football.
And if we're going to have children, you're going to need one or the other, right?
Well, I mean,
psychologically, what is it? This is something else I don't understand. When trans, so someone who's, say, born a man and then at 25 says, I now identify as a woman, I feel like a woman, I want to be a woman. I don't understand, what do you mean by you feel like a woman? What is that? What is that? You feel like a woman. What is it to feel like a woman? If I ask a woman that, she can't tell me.
No, that's true. I couldn't define it when you asked me what a man was. I couldn't.
What do you mean you feel like a woman?
And isn't
you feel soft and feminine? Well, there are men that are soft and gentle and feminine that don't want to be women. You hard, strong. Well, there are men that are hard and strong. So, what do you mean you feel like? I don't get it.
I support the rights of trans people. I can't imagine how difficult life. I mean, life's difficult as a straight guy, as a straight white man. I can't imagine how difficult it is if you feel like you're a woman trapped in a man's body or vice versa. I can't imagine that. But at the same time, and I support them having rights, and I support them obviously not being victimized, etc. But I also feel as if the community itself is not being reasonable with certain arguments. For the sports argument, for a start, I don't think they're being reasonable with this. You clearly can't have people who had lived most of their lives as a man competing in women's female sports. You know, there was the story, wasn't there, of this fighter in America, was it kickboxing or MMA or something like that, and they were transgender and just didn't tell anybody, and they were kicking shit out of women for months, you know. And when they found out it was a transgender woman, that there was obviously hell to pay, because they really were beating the crap out of it. It was South Park, strong woman, come to, you know, fruition. But And I do feel as if the trans community is being unreasonable, and I think this cancel culture, especially with J.K. Rowling, that's got to stop. This
We
is
need to talk about it more.
we need more people to talk about exactly.
So like you said yourself. So the swimmer. So she had spent the first 20 something years of her life as a man, and now is a he. And if you want me to, use
She bigot,
she, her pronouns, fine. I'm happy to
transphobe,
call you whatever you want. But to say that you are a real woman, which is what they're saying now, if you're trans, you're a real woman. Well, firstly, what are you transitioning from then? Why have you put trans woman? If that's a real woman, why put trans? What's the point of the trans before the woman?
and why do women have to change their definition now? Because I hear that women now have to call themselves cis women. Is
like we've said, like, what does it feel like to be a woman? You feel like a woman because of the sum of experiences you've had in your life as a woman. People have been observing you and talking to you and treating you as a woman. So that's the life experience that you are going to have. So the swimmer had 25 years of being observed and treated as a man, having the male human experience. So how can you then say at 25 you feel like a woman? No, you've had a male life as a man for 25 years. So you can't now say, no, I'm a real woman. No, because part of being a woman is to have a woman's experience, is to have that life, that experience, those memories leading up to where you are now, right? Because otherwise, what are you talking about when you say you feel like a woman? What do you mean? Your experiences have all been male. So how can you feel like it is it? And I might be completely wrong. This is what I mean. Like, we need to talk about it. I need someone to correct me if I'm wrong and say, no. It's this, look, and then I can be like, oh, okay, I totally get it. But like we were talking about that BID, the BIID. And I've gone online and I've tried to find where that conversation has been had with professionals, doctors, whatever.
Well, explain what the BIID is, because obviously
BIID is body identity something
dysmorphia or something like that, is it?
Disorder. It is a recognised disorder. BIID. If you're at home, Google it and you'll get the proper definition. Not a lot is known about it, but there are legit people that feel like they should be an amputee.
Body integrity identity disorder.
That's the one.
Is a rare, infrequently studied, and highly secretive condition in which there is a mismatch between the mental body image and the physical body.
Say that again. Right, stop.
Yeah, let's share the screen so people can see where I'm getting it from. So this is it. It's national introduction. Body integrity identity disorder is a rare, infrequently studied, and highly secretive condition in which there is a mismatch between the mental body image and the physical body. Subjects suffering from BIID have an intense desire to amputate a major limb or sever the spinal cord. Wow! In order to become paralyzed. The aim of the study is to broaden the knowledge of BIID amongst medical professionals by describing it all. I do find this fascinating because, if you go to a doctor, sorry, go on.
That sentence, a mismatch between the mental and
body
the
image,
physical.
and how is that any different to?
Does that sound familiar to you? Now, I'm not saying, and I might be wrong, but this is a conversation we need to have before we start lobbing off people's bits and pieces, before we start putting kids on hormone blockers and stopping them from going through puberty. Surely we should be talking about this first, before. Right now, you've got, what's the other one now? Trans species. trans
I
species.
saw this earlier. You sent me a link to this earlier. There was a guy who he looked like a cat.
It was a woman, and it goes another step. She thinks that she's an elf.
Yeah, and she was lovely as well. She was lovely.
Lovely human being, and I love like what she was saying, and a gentle soul, absolutely. But she thinks she's an elf, which is a character in a book. So, and you've got people that are saying now, oh, I identify as a cat, or I identify as a dog. So you're going to start shitting in the corner. Do you want me to call you Fido?
It's getting to the stage. There was a thing years ago, weren't there? There was like a 4chan thread years ago, how people were taking this to the nth degree, and like the final thing people sort of ended upon was, I where's it going to end? Is somebody going to identify themselves as an attack helicopter, an Apache gunship? Are we going to allow this?
I identify as a millionaire. Give me £1 million because it's detrimental to my mental health.
What are your pronouns, babe?
Oh, she and it.
You are the shit. There's another level.
Huh?
There's another level here as well that people don't talk about too much with the trans issue, in that this is being hijacked by men, and not men who want to be women, or men who are pretending to be women so they can go to women's prison. And
the thing is, a cool thing is, you know, please correct me, I want to be educated on it, that's why I need to talk about it. But there are people that are going to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
The guy who said no, a rapist.
He is
a woman, so they put him in a women's prison, and he rapes 2 women in there.
He gets them pregnant. A trans woman impregnates prisoners. He basically said, yeah, I'm here we are, 17th of July 2022. We won't go to the Telegraph. We won't go to the Daily Mail. Or we'll have to go NBC. Oh no, we can't go NBC. They've got an ad blocker. So this is a transgender woman. This is a crazy story. Transgender woman who impregnated 2 inmates has been removed from New Jersey's female prison. A transgender inmate who impregnated 2 women while incarcerated at Edna Mahan Correctional Facility for Women has been moved to a new facility, according to the Department of Corrections. Is it a male facility, though, or is it?
I was about to say, is it another female facility, is it?
Demi Minor, 27, was transferred to Garden State Youth Correctional Facility, a prison for young adult offenders. So now they're in the teenagers. In Burlington County last month. He said the DOC moved Minor to the vulnerable unit at the facility, and that she is currently the only woman prisoner on the site. So, okay, so now she's gone to prison with a load of young boys. That's where they've transferred her to a young correctional facility for young boys, because that's the only way that they can stop this woman raping and impregnating women in prison. And this is, I hear that when people, you know, end up going to court and what have you in this country, that's a big deal now. And these are like the first questions they start asking somebody. Do you identify as a man? It's like, even before it's like, where do you live? What's your name? It's like, what do you identify as? That is, correctional facilities in this country are having to make that a priority now, because of the amount of people that are taking advantage of the situation and just saying, yeah, I identify as a woman, because they know they're going to be doing time. And what better way to do time if you're a man than surrounded by women who are hard up for a bit of dick.
Oh, we're doing this now. oh, okay, this is what we're doing now. All right. All right. You know, I watched that Atheist Experience.
Yeah.
Massive fan. I've been watching it for years. They do that now. When someone calls in, they'll ask them, what, you know, are you a theist? Are you an atheist? And what are your pronouns? It's at the bottom.
Do you need to be saying to somebody, these are my pronouns? Because if you're talking to somebody, you don't refer to them as their pronouns. You don't refer to them as she or he.
Yeah.
You call them by their
understand.
name or whatever. You only refer to them by she or he when you're talking about them when they're not there in the third person.
They even want to control how you talk when they're not there.
We're not gonna survive. We're not gonna make it.
Nothing against trans.
No, nor am I.
I've met lots of trans people and lovely people, but is it trans or is it mental health? Is it?
Yeah.
We've got to talk about it before you start going under the knife, because you don't see it like, you know, like you get gay animals. There's every animal you get gays within that species. Do you get trans animals? I mean, sure, you get that cuttlefish that pretends to be a female so it can get into the
that's not
harem.
trans though. That's just a sneaky git.
That's strategy, right?
Yeah.
That's strategy to get laid. So are there any animals? This is something I'll have to Google, because this has just occurred to me. Are there trans animals within the animal kingdom? There's gay animals, absolutely. Gay is 100% natural, but is trans?
Let's ask Google, see what it says. Are there transgender animals? Snakes, lizards, beetles, fish, and birds, to name a few, all exhibit transgender behaviors in which males imitate females to gain advantages. That's what you were talking about with the cuttlefish, including reduce. So this is the equivalent of the straight guys that we were talking about who go to Pride with their lesbian mate in the hope that she gets drunk enough that she accepts a bit of cock for once, or just try it out. Including reduced competition, better access to territory, and improved mating opportunities. So they're only pretending to be female to get some pussy. That's really all they're doing.
Yeah, they're just doing that to get laid.
But
so
we're not saying this about the transgender. This is just the animals.
Yeah. So, you know, like, why is it just in humans then?
Yeah, because obviously in the animal kingdom, it's so they can get.
Being the animal kingdom, like they're gay animals. I
also wonder why it's been made into such a big deal, and I'm sure for trans, that's not to belittle the struggle,
people,
but if you look at the percentage of people it affects, it's minuscule. It's a tiny percentage, this is, but it is being portrayed as if it is the most important subject on the planet right now, or one of them, isn't it?
Distraction as well.
Sorry?
It's another form. Maybe it's another distraction, another form of control. We're going to control how you talk about X, Y, Z.
Yeah, I saw something the other day, how the media portray what the important subjects are compared to what the people think the most important subjects are, and it was like night and day. You know, people obviously care about the cost of living, they care about the climate crisis, and they care about, you know, rising fuel prices, etc., etc. You know, these are things that really people care about. But, you know, according to the media, over in America, it was like January the 6th, that was the most important thing. And then, you know, Roe v. Wade, that was you know, the things that they put important at the top, it wasn't even cracking the top 10 of what people actually felt in. Obviously Roe v. Wade, they did think was really important, but we know what a facade that was, and how, you know, the Democrats have used that as a fundraiser almost anything. So it's the tiny proportion of people who this affects, and I do feel as if it's being jumped on for political reasons, don't you?
Absolutely. But I also think that they've shot themselves in the foot with that one. Because, you know, like the Democrats in America with this whole Roe v. Wade thing, are saying stuff like, oh, you got to make sure that we get in again so we can like get rid of this whole making abortions illegal. Well, you're in power now.
Yeah.
Do it now. Do it 10 years ago when you said you was going to do it. Why do you... It's another weapon they can bash you over the head with.
Yeah.
It's another tool.
And it's another example of just how even when you vote, the people that you're voting for, that, you know, that even whatever you think they're pro, they're not. And it's when they get into power, they'll change their minds. Barack Obama and Joe Biden both on the campaign trail said that they were going to make in codifying Roe v. Wade, that codifying it into law. And both, as soon as they became president, I mean, Barack Obama said it's not my priority, you know.
Later. It's bait. It's something you can use for later. It's bait.
Yeah, I mean, they can use to fundraise off it, and they use to fight the next thing.
Well, it's so like disingenuous. It's so fake of America saying, you know, because they're using all the sanctity of life, blah 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 blah. But death penalty, you guys have got no health care. Why are you? It's so obvious that it's got nothing to do with the sanctity of life, but they'll just lie to your face and try and convince you that it is, when we all know that it's not. You're looking at me and telling me that the sky has pinstripes.
Yeah, I'm not that stupid. What's the difference between mushrooms and DMT, Hitch?
Oh, well, with mushrooms, you take mushrooms and God descends from the heavens and sits beside you and tells you about the divinity of his creation, tells you all of his secrets. You take DMT, you catch that God having a wank.
You love it, don't you? You love DMT, don't you? And mushrooms.
Yeah, I really do. Yeah,
I was so scared.
Yeah, so was I. First time. I mean, my first experience was scary. I mean, I've taken DMT, and they call it punching through, where you just lose all yourself. You lose who you are. And that's happened to me 3 times. The first time I was taught about who I am. The second time I was given a really important lesson. And then the third time was all about the love. So, the first time I did DMT, like in life, you have all this armor that you put on to help you deal with people, work, just like the outside, the external. You've got all these personas that you wear, that you can, you know, take them off and put them on at will. And while they are you, it is you, it's not you. Do you understand? They're you, but they're not the real you. And then you do the DMT, and the DMT is like, yeah, you don't need that, and just pulls it off. And you're left vulnerable. You know, when you was a kid and you didn't remember where you didn't know, let alone remember. You don't know where you came from, and you don't know where you're going. You go back there. You're like, oh yeah, shit. I still haven't got those answers. I still don't know where I came from, and I still don't know where I'm going. And you're reminded of how scary that is, and how none of it matters. You know, like even you were saying that it was like your trip, you was being told, you who are you?
I was being laughed at. It was like, I was like, I was scared. It was like, you
It's
are
like
nothing.
All of that is taken away. But that's why I loved what Steve said, because I was like, oh yeah, Steve's right. Because Steve said you are reminded about how irrelevant you are.
Yeah.
But then you're also reminded that consciousness is what the universe kind of needs to exist.
Yeah.
Because like, who's going to validate it if we're not here to look at it? I know it's the whole observer. We can talk about the double slit experiment if you want, but it's that whole, like, the consciousness is what makes things real.
If a tree falls in the woods when there's nobody to hear it, does it fall and does it make a sound? It's that sort of thing, isn't it?
Exactly that. I was like, oh yeah, he's right. We do and we don't. So that was the first trip that I had. The second trip was the lesson that I learned. I was, you know, you go to that place with all the fractal shapes and colours that, I mean, I don't want to say colours you've never seen before, because you have seen them, you just never seen them like this.
No,
like
you've never seen
green,
them.
like you've never seen it.
Gold,
like you've never seen it, like you've never seen it. And the way everything is like fractal, and it's like a space that is infinite with different types of infinity within infinity. It's just mad. And I went there, I was there, and I'm looking around, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then from behind a piece of infinity, this entity kind of went like that and came round, and he was like a cross between, you know, the courtyard jesters of olden days, with the thing with the bells, and they look like clowns almost.
Yeah.
And the Hindu god. Well, you know, I'm atheist, so I don't know where all this religious symbolism, you know, like with the feet, the way he moved, and he was like coming all around me, and he had this really big tongue, and he'd come really close and put his face like that. He was going to me like that, and sticking his tongue like that, and I'm just looking at him like, what the fuck is this? I was never scared. I was never scared, but I was baffled. Like, who are you? Like, where did you come from? And he just was like laughing and going to me like that in my face. And I kind of realized he was telling me to be more playful, play. He just wanted to play. And I'm looking at him and he's looking at me. And I thought, are you an extension of me? Is that what you are? And when I thought that, he started vibrating, like, and this high pitch, and he just went like that. And it just exploded into like millions of like little firework things. It was amazing. And then I came round and I was like, I don't know what that was about, but I think he was trying to tell me to chill the fuck out. And then the third time, I went back to that fractal place with all the infinity and all the colours and all of that. And in the back of my mind, I knew that I was laying down, and then I felt like hands behind me. Now, I'd seen the entities, I'd felt that vulnerability, I was ready for all of that, but I'd never felt anything actually touch me before. And it was like hands behind me pushing me up. So I kind of went like that, like I was being pushed up in this place, and I tensed up, my whole body tensed up, because I've never felt that before. And there was this point of light within all of that light and all of that space, no bigger than a full stop. And within a couple of seconds, it was like the brightest light. And within seconds, it kind of unraveled into a person. And I got the sense that it was female, but it was made out of light. There were no features. She was made out of just gold, white light. As she came towards me, I went like that, because I tensed up. And it was like she was telling me, like, don't you dare not trust this, like, surrender. So I surrendered. I was like, all right. And I just relaxed. And then when I relaxed, she started touching my face. And every time she touched my face, she was like going like that. And every time she was touching me, it was like just love. So much love that was just being poured into me. I could hear myself like from miles away, like the noises I was making. I could hear myself, but I couldn't stop myself. And then I just came round. I'm getting all choked up. And then I came round and my whole face was soaking wet because I'd been crying. Like, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was just all love. That third trip was the best trip ever.
I was so scared of taking it. I had so many opportunities with you, and I always put it out because I just wasn't. I was scared. I'd never taken any sort of psychedelics before, and then I think you'd gone to bed, and I woke you up after I'd take. It was like, come out. I've took DMT, babe. You're like, what was it like? Come back in. I'm going to take it again. And yeah, it gave me I'm not as fearful as death as I was. I had a real bad thing about death, and I was scared of death, as many people are, but I haven't got that anymore. And I also feel I do feel as if it's made me a little bit more selfless, maybe a little more selfless and less selfish. Do you know what I mean? It's like I do feel like we are all connected. I feel like everything is connected. I feel like we're all vibrating on the same wavelength. And I do feel like, treating people as if they're you living another life is the way to go forward, and I think if we can do that, then it's going to give us some chance, a chance for the future. And because we're going to need empathy, and we're going to need people, everybody talking, if we're going to have a chance of surviving.
Well said.
Certainly helped me. Is there anything else you want to talk about, darling? We've done nearly an hour and a half.
I think we've pretty much covered loads of bloody hell. We've talked about a lot, haven't we?
We'll do this twice a day. It should be pretty. Should be a pretty easy thing to do. So
we just chat and chat and chat and chat. But so much happens throughout the day, and then like during the day we'll call, like today with this.
Yeah.
Called you in the supermarket, babe.
That's a big deal. It's a big deal. We're going to end on the Palestine thing. I know it's a big thing that this is, because if supermarkets are stocking it, and it doesn't matter if the BBC won't say Palestine if the supermarkets are stocking foods from Palestine, from occupied Palestine, isn't it?
Exactly. You get like the trolls on TikTok that say dumb shit like, "Oh, there's no such thing as Palestinians or Palestine." Like, well, really? Where are these from then?
Well, when I spoke to Helen the other day on the podcast with Helen, who I love dearly, I've got to speak to her and Matt again. They're just wonderful people. But we were talking about BDS, and I did write it down, but I didn't touch on it with her. But you've got a theory with BDS, haven't you? That we need to. She said pick 6, and you've got a theory to just pick. Let's all pick one of them on the list and just say, right, okay, you are going out of business.
Going out of business.
No matter what you do, you're going out of business. And once we put you out of business, then we're going to concentrate on the next one.
Yeah.
I think that's a brilliant idea, Hitch. I really do. And I know I'm biased, but
you need to get a big amount of people all on board, and then maybe like have a vote, right? Which one's going to get hit first? Because you wouldn't have to just do it for BDS. You could do it, like companies that are paying shit wages.
Yeah.
Sainsbury's supermarket. No one's going to go there anymore because they pay their staff shit wages. We're taking it out of business.
I think we looked, didn't we? We looked in, was it Cafe Nero we decided would be a good one to start with?
Yeah. Because I think like 0-hour contracts, no sick leave, just really shit working conditions, and like minimum wage. Right, Cafe Nero it is then. Take it out of business, and then see how quickly Starbucks, and they'll all start paying proper wages because they don't want to be next. Because once we've got you in our sites, we're not just going to boycott you until you XYZ, until you start paying your staff better. We're going to boycott you until you go bankrupt.
Yeah. We're going to make it so you go bankrupt.
Once we've got our eyes on you, it's over.
And then other companies will see that. First of all, other companies will get a boost in their sales because if it's coffee, for instance, they're going to drink coffee somewhere else. And also, you know,
And they're going to need the staff.
They're going to need the staff as a result of that. So, and they're going to be like, well, we're going to have to pay the staff correctly. We're going to have to give them a living wage, etc. Because otherwise, we are going to be next on the list. And
if you can't pay your staff, then your business isn't viable. If you can't pay your staff enough that they can survive, then that's not a business.
No, it's not. If your business can't survive paying your staff a living wage, then your business needs to go away, doesn't it? Because it's not a viable business. It's capitalism 101.
So
yeah, I think that's a great idea. And right, okay, I think all right.